Hey y'all, welcome to our channel. My name is Tracy and I'm the keeper of the home here at 4D Farms, where we are all about faith, family, home, and farm, and in that order. And we're kind of like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. So y'all just come on in, grab a seat, take a look, and have a listen, because you don't want to miss a thing. Hey y'all. We're going to talk about a topic today. Can we just sit here just a minute and just talk? Just shoot the breeze a little bit and discuss a topic that I think it's one topic, but I'm going to break it down into two different sections because we're beginning to get controversial over it. And misconceptions, misinformation. We're not thinking very clearly. And it's beginning to get controversial between people. And it involves three people. And what I mostly want to do today is bring it to y'all straight from the Word. So that way, people will know. I just lost my place. People will know this is not an opinionated video. Not one bit of opinion is going to be said in this video. And I'm going to try to be as honest and forthcoming as possible because I see both sides. I get it. I understand because I've been on both sides of the fence. And I'm going to be blunt. I don't know how else to be. I'm like Moses. Lord, I'm not an eloquent speaker. You're going to have to speak through me. And I don't know how else to be but blunt. There's always that one person in the group that if something needs to be said, I'm going to be the one to say it because nobody else has the nerve to. Well, I do because this is getting ridiculous and it's getting out of hand. And the subject that I want to talk about today is education. And there's concerns, there's complaints that's turning into total nonsense and bickering between the three people involved that needs to be held the most accountable for the situation. Let me get right to it. I'm just going to throw this out. Parents, did you know that it is your responsibility to teach your children? Educate your children. First of all, before you say goodbye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. I'm done with you. Let me read from you from Proverbs. Proverbs 22, verse 6. God, this is not a suggestion either. This is a command because this was given to the Israelites from God. Okay? Train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's the verse. Now let's talk about it. Before anybody gets upset and says, mind your own business. This is my business. My kids' education was my business. Parents, it's our responsibility to teach our children. It's not all left up to the school system. Let me say that again. It's not all the school system's responsibility to teach your children. Now, I'm going to divide this into three sections because it's for the parents, it's for the teachers involved, and it's for the students, your children. Your obligation to your child is their education. This verse doesn't just mean teaching your children the scriptures, right way of living, right from wrong, the Bible, hymns, Bible stories, how to pray. It's not just pertaining to their spiritual life and nature. It's also pertaining to their education. You got to think about the culture this was also in too. And it still pertains to today because some countries still practice this. Back in those days, the women were not taught anything. They weren't educated. They were not taught how to read and write. Some cultures still practice this today. The women do not get that privilege. The women do not get to get that education. In some countries in this world, that is still practiced today. It was on the fathers, basically, and it was teaching the boys. The mothers were to teach the girls things pertaining to servant in the home. Okay? Taking care of everything else. The boys and the men were the ones who received the education. Thank goodness in our culture, we don't have to fight that. I was able to get an education. My mama was able to get an education. My grandparents, great-grandparents, own up to the pioneer days when they fought for our rights. That's a privilege. But this is also not a suggestion. It's a command to the parents. Train a child up in the way they should go. So, parents, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say it as nice as possible. You've got to get involved in your child's education. Whether you homeschool, everybody cannot homeschool. I get this. Everybody cannot homeschool. People have to work full-time jobs. And you just can't squeeze it in. Okay? Maybe you can't afford to homeschool because of all the materials and the cost and things. Y'all, it doesn't cost a lot to homeschool your children. I want to throw that in there. Just depends on what curriculum and stuff you pick. It doesn't have to cost a lot. That's free, by the way. Because I've been on both sides. I homeschooled my kids and they went to public school. I homeschooled our children for the first 6 years. 7th through the 12th, they wanted to go to public school so they could play and participate in public school sports. I begged them to stay home, but y'all, I was so involved in my children's education. They wanted to get away from mama. They wanted to go to public school because mama was hard. Mama was hard on her kids. I didn't accept bad grades. I didn't accept sloppy work. I didn't accept not doing your work. We'll get to accountability in a minute. I didn't play. Education is such a privilege. I wanted my kids to have the best education. I got to be a part of that. When me and my husband met and we were doing all this planning for when children came along, I always told him, I want to be able to homeschool our children. That was the desire of my heart. That man made it possible for me to be able to take off work and do that. He got the better education he needed to get that better job, better paying job, to make up for losing an income that I was bringing in to help pay the bills and provide for the family. I haven't always been a stay-at-home mom. I labored. I worked in a furniture factory. You had to meet that quota. I don't want to chase rabbits. And then I've been on the public school realm where my kids had a desire to continue playing sports, but that's the only way they could do it was to be in public school. I let them go. I loosen those apron strings a little. I let them go. Even though I wasn't responsible for being their teacher anymore. Now's where I'm going to start breaking this down at by individual person. We're going to start with the parents first. Even though they went to public school and I wasn't the teacher anymore, I wasn't responsible, I was still highly involved in their education. To the point where I left my phone number. Any teacher could call me at any time, text me, email me, see me out in public somewhere, pull me off to the side. Hey, I got a problem. Oh, tell me, I'll fix it. Might have to wait till we get home, but I'll fix it no matter what the problem was. If they were struggling with something, not understanding a concept, not keeping up, not turning in assignments, not doing homework. We'll get to that in a minute too. Not doing homework, making bad grades. Is there a reason why he didn't pass that test? Is it because he just didn't care? Or is it because he didn't really understand it when they were going over it in class and didn't speak up and say something? I'm a hound dog. I'm going to chase down the root of the cause, and I'm a fixer. Y'all, I am cursed with so many things. I'm a fixer. I'm probably better than the FBI. I'm a hound dog. I'm an overthinker. I'm just cursed all the way around. I don't know why he did this to me, but I'm passionate. Parents, that teacher should not have to chase you down to get you involved in your child's education. To get you involved. Hey, Junior's not doing too well. Junior is not helping in this. These teachers are telling you about your children and their problems, and parents are just throwing a blind eye. Well, as long as they make good grades and they pass, I don't care. Why would you do that to your kids? Why would you do that to your kids? Do you not want them to get the best education ever? And that don't just mean where they go. Oh my gosh, they got to go to Harvard. You have this kind of attitude right now about school, they're not going to make it to Harvard. They're not even going to get that acceptance letter, trust me, because they're not going to pass. Your teachers should not have to chase you down to get you involved. Look, I'm trying to reach out to you. I've sent you emails. I've called you. I've texted you. I've told you. We got parents not even going to parent-teacher conferences. Now, schools, y'all need to schedule them where these parents can make it to these parent-teacher conferences. During the daytime morning hours is not working. You got a lot of people that's at work. You got to work with these parents. You know, hey, what time do you get off? What's the best time we can meet? What's the best time I can call you? Because your child is struggling. Okay? They're trying to reach out to you to tell you about your child is having some problems. We need to figure this out. They're willing to help you figure it out. But y'all got to work together for the sake of your child and their education. But with this attitude, well, as long as they pass, I don't care, and they go to the next grade, I don't care. You don't show up for parent-teacher conferences. You're not there when they fail those tests, and they don't understand the concepts. They didn't get it here. They don't understand. You don't understand that this builds on this, and the more they go, the further behind they're getting unless you get involved. Why'd they fail that test? Did they not understand and speak up like I said? Did they not study? Accountability. What's the problem here? You need to start doing some investigating. Okay? Did the kid not do what they were supposed to do? Did the teacher not explain it to where they could understand it and go over it better? You got to be a hound dog. You have got to be heavily involved in your children's education. You chose to send your child to an institution for someone else to teach. But in the same, you got to give some of yourself too. You need to be involved with that teacher. You need to be involved. You need to check those papers that come home, those tests that come home. Sign up for those apps or call that teacher. Hey, what did he make on this test? I'm just checking up with you. I want to know, what did he make on this test? What question did they miss? So maybe I can go back over it and say, okay, y'all got to start being the hound dogs. It's not all the teacher's responsibility. Now, teachers, I'm going to say this as nice as I know how, and please nobody get upset with me because I've seen it. I've ran into this situation. You got to be passionate about your job. Be creative. Put the cookies on the bottom shelf where even the little kids can get it, which means you got to explain it and teach it until you see that light bulb go off above their head. Don't leave a child hanging. And you ought to know by now, if you've been in teaching for a long time, you got a class full of 23, 25 kids. 23 to 25 kids don't all learn the same way. You got 23 to 25 different personalities, different rates of learning, different comprehension. They don't all learn the same way. Then you've got those kids that sits there and acts like they got it, but 5 minutes into the lesson, it started going over their head, and they're just too afraid to speak up and say, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, can you explain that again? Because I just didn't get it. I taught my children, and I'm teaching my grandchildren, and any of my friends that's in education, you're going to have my grandchildren. Just know, G-Ma has told them, if you don't understand something when she gets done introducing that concept or teaching that lesson, I don't get it. That just went, I don't get it. Can you explain it again? I didn't understand it. Because not only would my granddaughters or my grandchildren or my children when they were in school not just be speaking up for themselves, but they may be speaking up for another quiet kid in the class too. Maybe 5 or 6. Let's help that one. When we're silently helping about 7 or 8 more. And I understand. No, I don't really understand. I hate Common Core. I'm going to come out and say it. When I homeschooled, I stayed as far away from Common Core as possible. I learned 2 plus 2 is 4. And that's how I'm going to teach my kids. I taught my kids, and I'm going to teach my grandchildren. I got 2 fingers. I hold up 2 more. I put them together, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. I'm not going to sit here and say Nellie Bell was sitting on her roof making some pancakes, and she made 12, and these birds came along and decided she didn't need to be in their territory, and they pushed her off the roof. And, hello, what are you going to do with the problem? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all seen this Common Core stuff. I'm a Gen Xer. I don't understand this stuff. And if my kids and my grandkids don't understand it the way that this Common Core forces you teachers to have to teach it that way, I want to say something to defend the teachers. There's a lot of teachers that don't like this Common Core crap either. See, 3 C's is what we're going to call it, Common Core crap. They don't like it either, but they're forced to teach it because it's government, school boards and schools has become government and state regulated. A lot of these teachers don't like the curriculum they have to teach, especially that. And they have to teach it that way because of those stinking standardized tests. I said it. And if I don't come out and say it, my face will. They don't like it either. But when we try to help our teachers, just know that when we try to go back and help our kids, we're trying we're involved in our kids. We're helping with homework. We're helping. Please don't get mad at the way that we are helping, because that's how we learn, and we can't understand that mess. We're doing the best that we can. At least we're involved. Don't go to the next thing, and that's another problem in the school system today. The school system has become so rushed through the curriculum and through the year. The teachers are having to move on along and leaving these kids behind. I thought the purpose of No Kid Left Behind was to slow down a little bit, not get faster. You start pushing a child through teaching them something, they start getting overwhelmed, and it causes them to start shutting down. You're rushing it too fast. You're explaining it too fast. You're going too fast. It wasn't like that when I was in school. I didn't do my boys that way when I homeschooled them. I didn't go to that next concept or that next lesson until I knew they had this one down and that light bulb went off. Teachers, you can see it. If you see a dumbfounded look on their face, you know they didn't get it. It just went right over their head. But we're forced to move on along, and we're leaving kids further behind. We're doing the opposite of what we set out to do. We got to slow down just a little bit. Slow down. Did I help you teachers out some? Slow down just a little bit. Those of us that are heavily involved, we're doing the best that we can with what we got and how we learned. At least we're learning. At least we're helping. Okay? And I know you're having trouble getting parents involved in that child's education. And I know that when little Johnny or little Susie, no offense to Johnny or Susie out there, when it comes to sending out those report cards, and come to find out little Johnny and little Susie didn't do their work, then they didn't pass the test, then all these grades adds up and they get a failing grade. And they either fail the class, the subject, or the whole grade. I understand the parents jumping on y'all. Parents, stop. 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 You need to go back to being that hound dog. Why did little Johnny not pass that class? Here is something else that's a controversy. There's two things that's a controversial. This one is going to be a whole lot easier to cover than the next one is, because I got my reasons, okay? The first controversy is, we're going to get to the students in a minute. I touched the parents. I touched the teachers. Now we're going to get to the students in a minute. But there's still some more accountability to be held somewhere. And these are two issues that I'm seeing parents and teachers and students bickering about. And it's nonsense. It's getting out of control. Number one. Well, they need to start teaching this in school. These teachers need to start teaching this. These schools need to start having these classes. Stop right there. Stop right there. Let me take you back to this verse. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. God wrote that and gave that commandment to the parents. It's not the school system or the teacher's responsibility or that school or the education system or the state institution and school boards and boards of education to teach your child everything they need to know in life. That's your responsibility first and foremost. Teachers are responsible for teaching the basics: reading, writing, and arithmetic, language, science, biology, things like that. Not all this stuff that y'all think should be their responsibility too. There's not enough time in the day for that. You want your kid to know how to do their taxes? Good Lord, why they got to learn that in 3rd grade? Why do they got to learn that in the 5th grade? Why do they got to learn that in high school? When they get a job, you sit down and teach them how to do their taxes. You got to do your taxes, or you take all of your files and stuff to a broker or to a, what's that person called that does the taxes, whatever. If your child is working and they got a job and they're getting those W-2 forms, have your kid come along and say, hey, we're going to learn that so-and-so's going to do our taxes, or we're going to learn to figure this out ourselves. TurboTax. There you go. Sit your child down. If you'd use TurboTax or an online tax service, grab your child and say, hey, let's learn how to do your taxes. Let dad show you how to do our taxes. Let me show you how to balance a checkbook. I understand some schools do offer home economics, which is great, and maybe a shop or welding class. That's great. Let them sign up for that. But all this other stuff, y'all are like, schools need to teach this. Parents, you need to grab your kids off them screens and video games and start showing them how to do some things. Dad, get that kid off the video games. Take them outside. Show them how to mow the yard and weed eat around the house. Show them how to check all the fluids in a vehicle. Tires, tire pressure, change tire. Teach them how to do those things, those manly skills, okay? I'm sorry, it's not just for me, and my daddy taught me how to check all the fluids in my vehicle. Moms, get your kids. They don't have to just be the girls. I had boys. Before my boys left home, they knew how to cook and clean and do laundry and do some things for themselves. I couldn't follow them to college if they would have went. I definitely couldn't follow one to the military, and he still thanks me to this day for showing him how to make that bed. Kept him out of trouble in basic training. And yeah, our boys can now help their wives in the home and do some things. Cook, clean, help with the kids, do laundry, because they have houses of their own now. You can't follow your kids out into the world and do these things for them. Okay? You got to teach them some things in the home. You, the parent. All this stuff is not the school's responsibility. Now that we got that established, grab these kids, teach them something. Teach them some life skills. Don't leave it up to the school to do it. Okay? Now that we know that it's your responsibility and some things that you can do to help, don't let those kids sit in that house all summer and you outside working in the garden. And let me tell y'all something. We've raised a garden since our boys were little. I had a 3-year-old walking with my mother-in-law behind the tiller, trying to run the tiller. Our kids worked. We dragged our kids out in the hot sun. Let's go hill them potatoes. Let's go weed through the corn rows. My boys has always helped. They were going to learn work ethics. The school ain't responsible for teaching your kids work ethics either. That's your responsibility. Get them off their duff outside or somewhere and teach them how to do some stuff. Okay. I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna nip that one in the bud. Let's move on to the next one. This is a complaint. And like I said, I've been on both sides of the fence. This is a complaint. So many parents are trying to throw up to teachers. Let me get a little closer so you can hear me. These kids should not be given homework. Honey, please. Honey, please, stop. As long as there is school, there's going to be homework. I gave it, and the school gave it. The teachers gave it. When I gave it, and the reason for giving homework, let me see if I can help y'all understand this. The reason for giving homework, it's not just to throw extra work on your kid. Let me tell you some of the reasons behind it, because I've seen it with my own eyes because I gave homework. It's given for the purpose of, number one, if there's not enough time in the class to get that done in the class, it is sent home for the kid to finish working on at home, homework, to finish the lesson. The lesson has to be taught. The kids need to let it soak in. Now, they can soak it all in and do it as long as that teacher's standing there. Okay? You need to know if teachers need to know if they can do this independently. It teaches responsibility, teaches the child how to think of their own and depend on their own understanding and comprehension. Did they get it? Did I do a good job at teaching that lesson? Are they going to be able to complete this without anyone looking, without anyone? It's given for a lot of reasons. It's given for responsibility, for one thing. And if you don't hold your kid accountable for getting their homework done, you're cheating your child. You're cheating your child. Homework is given for a reason, for independency, making sure they understand it. Can they do this without me? Because a kid can sit here in the class and do the classwork all day long. But if they don't go home and try to do some of this work at home, by the time 2 or 3 days later, when it's time to take that test, and they make a bad grade on that test and they can't do the test and they fail the test, there's probably a clue. Okay? Independency. Seeing if they're retaining the information. It's teaching them how to think independently on their own. Now, let me go back and say, younger grades. Younger grades. There's going to be some kids like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, those elementary years, they're going to need help with that homework. If a child is in kindergarten, they're just learning how to read, yes, you are going to have to give some assistance at home. Okay? Parents have only got so many minutes in a class to teach the lesson. They're hurried through it. They've only got so many minutes. Then they're rushed through the lessons. That's where home has got to come in and pick up some slack. That goes back to my saying, you can't just leave it all up to the teacher to teach your child. You've got to do some things at home with them too. Homework. So see, there's a reason for homework. Now, is little Johnny and little Susie that's a little older, are they doing their homework? Let me tell y'all something. My mama was involved in my education. She would help me study for tests. She'd say, go bring me your book, go bring me your notes, I'll quiz you. Oh, y'all, that helped me learn so much. I had backup. I had plan B. I loved it. when she would help me study together. But then there was those times when that mama said, if you don't get your homework done, I knew what was coming next. Yes, ma'am. I went and got my homework done because I knew what was coming next, and I knew what that meant by the look on her face. She didn't have to say any more. My mama, my parent, held me accountable. Parents, are you holding your kids accountable for their work? That's where it goes back to fishing down and being that hound dog and finding out the problem why they're not passing. Are they doing their homework? Are you holding little Johnny or Junior or little Susie accountable for not doing their homework? I would get on that school app, or a teacher would text me and say, they didn't turn in their assignment today. I just thought you'd like to know that because I know you're an involved parent. Thank you. I'll take care of it. Click. Come here, boy. We had a little come to Jesus meeting. You better go in there and get that assignment done right now, or you don't get to do this and this and this and this and that until it's done. Hold your kids accountable. Okay? Hold your kids accountable. But parents, I'm sorry, but you've got to be involved. Kindergartners that are just learning how to read, they're going to need that help at home. The teacher is trying her best with the minutes that she's got in the class, and we got to go to the next thing because I'm on a time schedule here according to the government and the state. I got to have this lesson finished on this day because I got to move to this one. Some of this stuff, y'all need to quit blaming on the teachers. Some of this stuff is state regulated and government issued and regulated. We need to start contacting some representatives. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay? And when they see your child getting further and further behind, they've got to reach out for you and say, hey, because they love your kid. They want to see your child excel and grow. They're reaching out to you for a reason. They're sending some of this work home because they have to. It's got to be covered. But there's nothing wrong with giving homework, y'all. You need to know if your child can do this work and think for themselves and independently and teach responsibility to get that education. We've become a little too soft. I said that out loud. I was thinking it, but I just blurted it right out my mouth. We've become too soft. And we're failing our kids in their education because we have become too soft. That stung just a little bit. Look, I homeschooled. I still ran my house, farm, chores. We had extracurricular activities. I still gave homework. I wanted to teach my kids responsibility. I wanted to see if they could do this work independently. Now, my assignments, my teacher's manual called for it too. Then they would list the homework. Can you do this independently? I needed to see if they understood it. Can you do this on your own without me being here to ask questions? Because you're going to have to do this on test time. Just because I homeschooled my kids doesn't mean I gave them the answers. And doesn't mean I accepted bad grades. I needed to see if they could do it. If these teachers are teaching your children, they signed up for this. And they're trying to do the best that they can. But they need backup. They need help. And you chose to send your children to a public institution to do this for you. But you got to still be involved somehow. Okay? I just want to make sure y'all understand that. Then I've been on the side where they issued the homework. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the complaint. We don't have time for all this homework. Oh, stop. Stop. Just stop. Just stop. because I already see some problems. And I'm going to say this as nice as I know how to. And I don't mean to offend anybody, and I'm going to say it nicely. My face may look a little bit different, but I'm going to try to say it as nice as possible. We got our priorities backwards. Okay? We have our Y'all come back. Don't leave me hanging. Come on. I didn't mean to offend you, but we've got our priorities backwards. Whether I homeschooled or my kids were in public school, I had my priorities straight. I had my responsibilities, whether I worked outside the home or inside the home. Everybody's like, well, you're a stay-at-home mom. I'm a grown woman. I'm smart enough that if I had a full-time job and my home responsibilities when I get home, the homemaking. Homemaking is not just for stay-at-home moms. I want to let y'all know that. It's whether you guys, it's for all moms. Anybody making a home, whether you work a full-time job or you're a stay-at-home mom. If you work a full-time job, you still got those homemaking skills when you walk through that door, whatever time you walk through it, when you get off your shift. Or you're a stay-at-home mom. I had all my responsibilities. I had my homemaking responsibilities. I had the responsibility to my children. I had a garden, farm animals. I ran a farm. Extracurricular activities because our kids started playing sports at 5 years old. They did all the pee-wee and then the junior pro and all such as this. Well, I've been through all that. Parents today have got their priorities backwards. We're putting more emphasis on all these extracurricular activities like baseball, football, volleyball, softball, any kind of balls. Any kind of sport. We're putting too much emphasis on the importance of all these sports before our kids' education. We got to get back to prioritizing our responsibilities, which I realize a lot of parents work full-time jobs. That's got to come first. You got to pay the bills. You got to provide for your family. Next comes your children's responsibilities and their education. Then all this extra stuff. We got them two flipped around somewhere backwards. We live in a nation now where more emphasis is put on the sports world and that they get paid more than... Okay, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Y'all see where I'm going though. We got our priorities backwards. I come from a generation where you don't get that done. You don't get to do this. You don't get to go to football practice. You don't get to go to basketball practice. I'll tell the coach and tell him to put you on the bench if you don't get your homework done and you don't study for those tests. Now's where the kids has got to come in at. You got to hold your kids accountable, especially the older ones on up. I said those little ones are going to need some help. You can't leave a kindergartner sitting here by herself trying to teach herself how to read. You got to monitor and sit down with her reading that book. You got to make sure she's pronouncing her vowels and her consonants correctly, putting her blends together, sounding out that word, the syllables. Okay? You got to make sure she's getting those words correctly. Your child can't sit there and teach herself how to read. You got to correct her if she gets that word wrong. Spelling, you need to check their work. Even though they may get that homework done independently and they did it all by themselves, parents, you need to go back and check over their homework. Listen to them read. No, say it again because that's not how you say that word. Say it again. I'm doing this, y'all. I taught my boys how to read. I sat with them, taught them. I assigned that homework or the teacher assigned it. I checked it, especially when I was the teacher. I was like, this is your homework. When I come in, I need to check your homework. Time's a-ticking. I need to check your homework. Oh, I held my kids accountable. But the older ones can work more independently. Okay? Here's a solution to some of these problems and some of these complaints. I don't have time. We don't have time for all that. Number one, check your priorities. Get back to the priorities. School comes before all this extra stuff. I'm sorry, but it does. You are setting your child up for failure in future failure if you don't start this and nip it in the bud now. The teacher's doing all she can do with the time that she's got. Home's got to come in somewhere, and it's your responsibility. We done covered that. I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to review. Y'all, that's the teacher coming out in me. We need to review before we take this test. If we can see if you can do this. Here's some solutions. If it's older kids and the class period is done and there's free time in that class period, you need to tell your child, hey, any free time that you have in any of your classes, you need to start working on your homework. So we ain't got to do this when you get home. When I was in school, we had a time period, a block. We called it period, block. And I know now schools are going to blocks, okay? Allotted times. And we had a study hall period. We had an hour to try to get as much homework done as we could so we didn't have to lag 6 books home to do homework in 6 different subjects and throw in a test to study for on top of that while having our first job. I did it. I got my homework done in those 5 or 6 subjects. I worked that afternoon, nighttime job. Well, I'd be on my break at my supper break or my break at my job. I'd get my books out, I got 30 minutes to get some homework done. I study for this test. Hold your kid accountable for their time. Teach your kid time management. I know a lot of schools offer after-school programs. Tell your kid, instead of playing dodgeball and getting knocked in the head 50 times, sit down and get some of your homework done, because we got stuff to do when we get home. And if you want to go play that game or you want to go do that extracurricular activity, your homework needs to be done. Start holding your kid accountable for that work. Parents, start learning some time management skills. I did. I learned time management skills with as busy as we were running a home, a farm, school, extracurricular activities. I came up with a routine. I came up with a schedule. I knew what was coming up so I could plan and work with those two. Then I implemented time management skills. All right. I'll tell you what I can do. I can get some meals already prepared because I know we got a game coming up. And I prepped and I prepared. I used time management skills to come up with creative ideas to offset some of this stuff and not be so rushed around and not think that homework was important and say, we don't have time for that. Learn some time management skills. Come up with a plan B. Sit down and have a family meeting and say, okay, Dad, what can you do to help? Little squirrel. What can you do to help in the afternoons? Mom, what can you do to pre-prep to make some of these evenings go by so much smoother? Women, get those crock pots, instant pots out. Y'all, I got a ton of ideas. All you got to do is ask. My son that has the kids, our grandkids right now, is figuring this stuff out. I said, son, as long as there's school, there's going to be homework. But I can help y'all with time management skills. Dad can help you with all you got to do. I can help my daughter-in-law. I can give a ton of ideas. But I don't want to be pushy, and I don't want to sound bossy. They got to come to me and Dad and ask. But it's just, can I help you? It's all I can do to just like, please let me help you. Let me tell you something. Let me give you some advice, okay? But mamas, sometimes we got to stand back and let them figure out things for themselves. Parents, start figuring out some things. Time management, come up with a plan, talk to the family and say, hey, we're going to have to come up with a schedule. If y'all want mom and dad to work a full-time job, then run around like chickens with their heads cut off when we get off work to help you with this and this and this and this and take you here and take you there. Y'all got to work with me some. We got to have a functional house. Sit down and have a family meeting. Everybody's got to be held accountable. I have so many ideas to help. Make ahead breakfasts. Make ahead suppers. Doubling a recipe. Eating one now. Putting that other one in the freezer for when y'all come home from that game. Or you got time in between school and that game. Sit down and have a meal. Oh, y'all, I got so many ideas. And so many videos with that information in it. Or you can just ask me. I'll be here for you. Y'all got to come up with a plan. But everybody's got to be held accountable. Parents, kids, and teachers have all got to be held accountable for everyone's responsibilities. Parents, it goes back to you first and foremost. That your kid belongs to you, not the school system. It's your responsibility. But how you choose for your kid to get that education is up to you. But you got to see all aspects. That teacher is doing her job. Even assigning homework. She's doing her job. There's a reason for it. You got to sit down and come up with a plan and come up with some solutions. Okay? Y'all, I hope I have said this as nicely as possible because this is the second video I've made. The first one, I went back and I watched myself and I said, honey, you were blunt. Could you have said that a little nicer? So here we are saying things a little nicer. And I hope that I have showed you biblically that it's your responsibility first and foremost. But if you put that responsibility off on somebody else, you still got to be heavily involved because it is still your responsibility to make sure your child is learning. Hold the teachers accountable. Y'all, I've seen some, I had one. A teacher supposed to be teaching a lesson, but would have rather sit in that class with their feet propped up on the desk reading the morning newspaper than teaching the lesson. They just got up and said, you need to read chapters 1 and 2, and we're going to have a test on it Friday. You want to talk about self-teaching? You want to talk about teaching yourself? That's one time we had to. I know there's teachers out there that don't do as good a job as others because I've encountered some. In my own education, I had a teacher that would just keep on explaining until she saw the light bulb go off, and she was very creative. And then I've had some that just didn't give a flip, like the other one. Self-taught in that class. And even if a subject does not interest your child, I'm sorry, they still have to learn it in order to pass the class and pass the test. And if they don't pass it, you got to figure out what the problem is. Are they not getting it? Are they not understanding it? Is the teacher not teaching it right? Or is little Johnny or little Susie not doing the work? You got to be that hound dog. Okay? We're just reviewing here. Be that hound dog. Don't jump on the teacher when that kid gets an F on their report card, especially if that teacher's tried to get you involved the whole time and you've just blew them off. Don't jump on that teacher. I hope I've been as nice as possible. I hope I have shed some light. I hope I've brought some common sense to the table. I know I have showed you biblically, so nobody can argue with me. Okay? I hope I've shed some light. I hope I've gave some ideas. I hope I've opened some eyes. Okay? I had to hold myself accountable. I had to be self-disciplined and everything. When I homeschooled my kids, I could have made it easy on my kids. I could have been soft. Yeah, you ain't got to do no homework. I think you got it. I made sure they got it. And I wanted to make sure they could do it by themselves. So when it come test time, they could do it. But when they were littler, I really had to make sure they were getting it. Reading, that beginner arithmetic, I had to make sure they were getting it. Spelling, okay? We got to get our priorities back right. Okay, and in order to get your that's the first and foremost thing right there. Know your responsibility and know that it's yours. Get those priorities back in order, because somewhere along the line we flipped them and we started putting other things before our kids' education. And then come up with solutions. Sit down and have a family meeting. You parents talk. Hold your kids accountable. Okay? Because I'm going to tell y'all something. If you want your kids to go to college, they better start learning how to do this stuff right now. Because when you get to college, that professor is only going to teach it one time. And you want to talk about homework and you want to talk about work and self-teaching after that. If you don't help them now, you're setting them up for disaster when they go to college. And I know every kid don't go to college. Don't be so hyped up, teachers, on pushing kids to go to college. Every kid is not college material. My kids weren't, and I knew this when I homeschooled them. You're not going to college. I never said that to them. But I just knew my kids. I knew my kids. One was a book learner. One was a visual learner. I knew this. Know your kids. Know their strengths. Know their weaknesses. Work on those. Start paying attention to your kids' strengths and weaknesses. Start paying attention to their laziness too. Okay? And parents, I want to say this again. Those teachers should not have to be chasing you down to get you involved in your children's education. Because it's all on you, babe. It's your responsibility. Okay? Find those solutions. Okay? I hope I've been as nice as possible. I did not mean to come off rude or offensive, but I see the problems. And we got to quit bickering back and forth between the parents and the teachers and the school system. We got to quit doing all this bickering because your kids are in the middle. The kids are seeing all this. They're learning from the grown-ups. We got to get back to making an education a priority, whether they go to college or they go to a trade school or they go to military or they're entrepreneurs and they want to be their own boss. Okay? It starts here. It starts in the home first. Then if you want to bring in teachers, we all got to work together and get along. Okay? Let's all get along in this educating our kids, all right? I hope I've been as nice as possible, and I hope I've helped you somehow. I hope I haven't offended you, but this has been on my heart for a long time. And finally, God just said, now let's talk about it. Now let's put it out there, okay? I hope I've helped y'all in some way. I hope I've opened your eyes. Okay, I hope I helped you understand. And I will see y'all in the next video.